Thank you for watching Amish Keel 5858. I am Amish Shackle. Now let's go to the current news headlines from major English news channels.
Tonight, several developing stories as we come on the air. The life-threatening heat moving in. It could feel like 106 in New York City. Across the U.S., temperatures in the triple digits. Also tonight, President Trump, his new message on Iran. And what the president is now saying about his own director of national intelligence. Saying late today, she's wrong. And the mother who disappeared on Mother's Day, and the stunning turn tonight, the charges. First tonight, the life-threatening heat moving in, temperatures across the country soaring past 100, and the severe storm stretching from Michigan to New York tomorrow. Lee Goldberg standing by with the forecast. Also tonight, President Trump pushing back against his own director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, after she recently said there's no evidence Iran is building a nuclear weapon right now. The president late today saying she's wrong. Tonight, the arrest that made national headlines, the student activist arrested during the Trump administration's crackdown on pro-Palestinian demonstrators on campus. Tonight, a judge ruling he must be freed. This evening, a suspect now charged with the attempted kidnapping of a mayor. Police say they have recovered a taser, rope, and duct tape, climbing over an 8 to 10 foot wall to get to the mayor's home. It comes after those horrific shootings of lawmakers in Minnesota. Tonight, 5 years after she disappeared on Mother's Day, authorities have her husband under arrest tonight. He'd been released years earlier, and what he told ABC News at the time. Tonight, authorities on this sudden new turn and what led to his arrest. Tonight, we hear from the jurors now in the Karen Reed murder trial in Boston. Why they acquitted her, their reasoning. Outside New York City in the Hamptons, a reality TV star killed in an apparent hit and run. Police finding her unconscious along Montauk Highway. The disturbing scene at the ballpark, a Pirates pitcher taking a swing at a fan. What led to this moment? And it was 50 years ago tonight, Jaws became the summer blockbuster.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Tonight, Ginger Z takes us to Martha's Vineyard. Steven Spielberg on what was really happening with that mechanical shark. And the child actor in the water there revealing what was really going on during this scene. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David York. Good evening. We made it to Friday, but it comes with extreme heat now moving in across much of this country. Thanks for being here tonight.
Well, today, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis greeted Americans he helped evacuate from what is now a war zone in Israel. So far, over 1,500 Americans have been extracted from the region. Here now with more, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Governor DeSantis, great to see you. I saw you in the Tampa airport with some of these evacuees, and you said that this is the most challenging and logistically difficult mission Florida Department of Emergency Management has ever pulled off. What did it entail as you rescued these Floridians?
Well, Kaylee, it's good to be with you. I mean, we have done this in Israel before after the October 7th, 2023 Hamas attacks. We've also done it in Haiti when the situation got really bad there, rescued our people from that. But in this situation, you have the total shutdown of Ben Gurion Airport. You have people that are all of a sudden stranded there, but you have ballistic missiles raining down from a very hostile nation, the Iranian mullahs directing those things. And so we had students who were studying in Israel. It's our from our state universities. We had a number of young people, student age, who were on the Birthright Israel program, and all of a sudden, their entire lives have been upended. And what happened was, because we have a track record of helping in these situations, we were willing to do it, and we wanted to do it, but people were reaching out to us, saying, hey, we need help, and so we sprung into action, and we're able to do that. So there have been 1,500 plus that have been evacuated out of Israel. We're now running flights from Cyprus. So the plane that I welcomed this morning was the second plane that's come in from Cyprus. Planes carry between 150 and 200 passengers, and I can tell you there was just a real big sense of relief and appreciation to be back in the United States. I mean, these were folks who were not expecting this to happen. They were supposed to be there a limited amount of time, and they really didn't have a lot of hope immediately, and the state of Florida stepped up. We have a lot of challenging problem sets we deal with hurricanes. We've used our emergency response personnel to help enforce laws against illegal immigration and even do transportation to places like Martha's Vineyard. But this was a very difficult situation, and I think everyone involved did a really good job. and the operations are ongoing. We're going to continue to bring flights in as people need it.
You know, speaking to the broader conflict, Governor DeSantis, you know, you've served in the Navy, you've been deployed to Iraq, you are a smart and astute student of foreign policy. What do you think the right answer is now in Iran? Striking Fordo, continuing negotiations? Your analysis.
Well, I think President Trump's policy from the time he came down the escalator in 2015 till today is the right policy. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And part of the reason is we just don't want to see nuclear proliferation. Part of the reason is no country has been more hostile to the United States since 1979 than the Iranian mullah regime. But then their ideology, I mean, these are very extreme Shia Islamists. And we've always recognized that nuclear weapons can be deterred because if someone were to use it against us or a different country, that country could respond or we could respond, and then we both end up in smoke. That's not a good prospect, and it worked during the Cold War to deter. The problem is with these Iranian mullahs, mutually assured destruction is not really a deterrent, it's an inducement, because if they can wipe Israel off the map, even if Israel were to respond and kill tens of millions of Iranians, these mullahs would think that's a good thing, that is following their radical theology. And so that's really the policy. You know, you were talking about with your previous guest about regime.
Tonight, no signs of de-escalation in the Middle East and our exclusive interview. Iran accusing the Trump administration of diplomatic betrayal. The new strikes breaking through, hitting a high-rise in Israel, and the new explosion caught on surveillance video. Plus, our exclusive with Iran's foreign minister, the highest-level interview since it all began. Why he said he doesn't trust the U.S. after trying to make a nuclear deal, and what he said about possibly retaliating against America. And this just in, President Trump responding directly to that interview. Andrea Mitchell reporting from Geneva. Record-shattering heat stretching coast to coast, dangerous temperatures and extreme humidity making it sweltering for 139 million Americans from Arizona to Massachusetts. The chilling kidnapping plot targeting the mayor of Memphis, a man arrested with rope, duct tape, and a taser after scaling a brick wall outside his home. The deadly rockfall sending giant clouds of dust in the air. The hikers fleeing as the sides of this cliff come crashing down. What happened at the national park millions visit every year? Karen Reed was found not guilty of murder. Now we're hearing from the jurors who decided her fate. The key piece of evidence about a taillight that helped change minds in the juror's box. Love and poison, the couple plotting to kill several women with cyanide, even breaking into their cars to lace their water with a deadly mixture. Home prices approaching all-time highs, why the suburbs are turning into rental meccas. The massive volcano on Kilauea erupting again, firing lava more than 1,000 feet into the air. The new images. Nightly News starts right now. This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Yamas.
He was the first person jailed in the Trump crackdown on campus protesters.
Now a judge has set him free. From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Maurice Dubois.
I'm John Dickerson.
A former grad student who became the poster child for President Trump's crackdown on campus protesters is going free on bail.
The federal judge appointed by President Biden today ordered Mahmoud Khalil released from an immigration jail in Louisiana.
Khalil played a key role in pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia University. He was arrested in March at his New York residence, and the administration is looking to deport him.
Judge Michael Farbiage said none of the Trump administration's allegations against Khalil justify keeping him in jail, including that he lied on his green card application and opposes U.S. foreign policy objectives.
The judge said there is something to Khalil's claim that the administration is retaliating against him for his pro-Palestinian speech, and that, he said, would be unconstitutional.
Khalil, who is 30, is the son of Palestinian parents. He's married to a U.S. citizen, a dentist, and they have a son.
Lilia Luciano is following this. Lilia?
That's right. Good evening. Well, Mahmoud Khalil was born in Syria and came to the United States legally 3 years ago. He's a permanent resident. He holds a green card. In March, ICE agents confronted him in New York, where he was living with his wife.
Turn around, turn around, turn around.
When federal agents arrested Mahmoud Khalil 3 months ago, they would not reveal the charges against him.
The man said, "We're with the police, you have to come with us."
Khalil's wife, Noor, described the arrest to CBS Sunday Morning.
At this point, Mahmoud was like, "Go take the keys, grab my green card." He thought maybe like if he shows the green card, we'll be fine.
The ICE agents also refused to say where he was being taken. Khalil was flown to a detention center in Louisiana before his attorneys could track him down. Khalil was among the most visible figures at the pro-Palestinian demonstrations at Columbia University. He does not have a criminal record, but as his case got more attention, the Trump administration accused him of lying in his green card application, being a Hamas sympathizer, and participating in anti-Semitic protests. They never
Good evening, I'm Jeff Bennett.
And I'm Amna Nawaz. On the NewsHour tonight, European leaders meet with Iran's foreign minister as the war with Israel rages on and mass protests unfold in Tehran.
A brutal heat wave blankets much of the U.S., with some areas seeing temperatures topping 100 degrees.
And we sit down with Carla Hayden, the first female and African-American librarian of Congress and who was fired by President Trump.
Free public libraries are part of a civic infrastructure that we need to have a safe democracy.
On this Friday night, tragedy strikes Banff National Park. A rock slide kills 2 people on a popular hiking path as witnesses watch helplessly. The warning to other hikers in the region: Israel's Iron Dome is showing cracks. More missile strikes and civilians killed in the Middle East. What Iran is now saying about a possible path to peace. Canadian pride. Opinion polls show sagging support for LGBTQ2+ rights around the world. How Canada is bucking the trend. Plus, the Canada Strong Pass.
Kinda staying away from the States.
A new incentive encouraging summer tourists to staycation.
Global National. Reporting tonight, Jeff Semple.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. The body of a second person has now been recovered at the site of yesterday's rock slide in Banff National Park. 13 others were injured. The police do not believe that anyone else is missing. That huge rock face gave way as hikers scrambled for cover. The slide happened at Bow Glacier Falls. That's about an hour's drive from Banff, Alberta. The route is popular among hikers young and old. The path begins just off the highway and it takes about 4 hours to complete. Our Jamie Dahl is near the trail.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Hundreds of thousands of Iranians have taken to the streets to protest Israel's escalating attacks and to reject U.S. intervention. This comes as Iran's foreign minister is meeting with counterparts from France, Germany, and the United Kingdom in Geneva as the conflict between Iran and Israel stretches into its second week following Israel's unprovoked initial attack on June 12th. The White House said Thursday President Trump will decide within 2 weeks whether the U.S. will strike Iran. The White House refused to say whether Trump would bypass congressional authorization for any such strikes as required in the Constitution. On Wednesday, Trump said he delivered a, quote, ultimate ultimatum to Tehran over its nuclear program amidst reports he'd approved U.S. war plans against Iran. The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Grossi, said this week there is no proof Iran is building a nuclear weapon. One rights group found Israeli strikes on Iran have killed at least 639 people and wounded double that number. One of the victims was the Iranian poet Parnia Abbasi. She was killed alongside family members in Tehran days ahead of her 24th birthday. Amidst the ongoing assault and threats of escalation, many Iranians have been fleeing Iran. This is a dual Iranian-Australian citizen speaking from Iran's border with Armenia.
The worst thing in this world is war. It is because of the war that we live like this, in nomadic life. People are trying to leave the country through all available borders if possible.
Israeli authorities say at least 24 people have been killed in Iranian attacks on Israel. On Thursday, Israeli President Isaac Herzog declared an Iranian strike that reached hospital in Beersheba, accusing Tehran of war crimes. Over the past 20 months, Israel's decimated Gaza's health infrastructure, completely destroying or damaging 38 hospitals, as well as 81 major health centers and 100...
For being here. France 24. Liberté, égalité, actualité.
Hello and welcome back to the France 24 newsroom here in Paris. Our headlines this hour. Iran and Israel continue to trade strikes as Iran warns there will be no negotiation until Israel stops its attacks. Down on Palestinian protests.
Good morning, it's 6 o'clock on today's programme. We have an investigation into multiple deaths at an NHS mental health trust.
And it was a disappointing start to this summer's British and Irish Lions tour as they lose to Argentina for the first time in their history.
It's Saturday the 21st of June. After a conviction for serious failings, more questions for one NHS mental health trust over the deaths of 20 other patients. Sky News hears from their families.
One day, Chantal was told by a nurse, "Don't kill yourself on my shift. Wait till you go home and kill yourself." She was told by a nurse.
Iran and Israel continue to trade blows overnight. Talks in Geneva failed to deliver a breakthrough, and Iran voices distrust over US diplomacy.
If the US join Israel in these attacks, we will do the same. We actually retaliate.
After a break-in on an RAF base, Sky News understands the group Palestine Action could be branded a terror organisation. A heatwave marks the solstice and the official start of summer.
And could this man become the most expensive footballer in British history? Florian Wirtz has joined Liverpool from Bayer Leverkusen in a deal worth £116 million.
Hello, good morning. Our top story today. North East London NHS Foundation Trust is facing further questions this morning after Dinosaurs continues Tuesday on ABC and ABC iView.
Air raid sirens and explosions heard over Tel Aviv as Iran launches more retaliatory missiles towards Israel. Meanwhile, the US president dismisses European efforts to de-escalate the conflict as Israel warns of a prolonged campaign against Iran.
Iran doesn't want to speak to Europe. They want to speak to us. Europe is not going to be able to help in this.
Back home, concerns for the future of a small Queensland town with its multi-million-dollar copper mine set to close. And braving the cold, thousands turn out for Hobart's winter solstice swim. I'm Alex Thomas with your latest ABC News. A very warm welcome to you. The Israeli military has given the all-clear to Tel Aviv residents taking shelter from the latest Iran attacks. Explosions were heard over the city after the IDF warned Iranian missiles had been launched at Israel. Former Middle East correspondent Ben Knight has more analysis, starting with US President Donald Trump dismissing European leaders.
This is Asia Now.
It's 12 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 New Delhi, and 11 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Rani Santani at this hour. No immediate breakthrough after meeting between Iranian and European officials. Tehran says it won't engage with Washington in talks until Israel stops its attacks.
Well, I think it's very hard to make that request right now. If somebody's winning, it's a little bit harder to do than if somebody's losing. But we're ready, willing, and able, and we've been speaking to Iran, and we'll see what happens.
President Vladimir Putin laying claim to all of Ukraine, saying the people of both countries are one. He rejects the notion, saying the Russian leader's comments show disdain for U.S. peace efforts. Plus,
what's important for all of us, countries everywhere, is to recognize the dangers that we are in, for us to do our to manage geopolitical tensions and rivalry carefully in order to minimize the risk of conflict and war.
Singapore Prime Minister Lawrence Wong outlined the objectives for his upcoming visit to China, including strengthening multilateralism and establishing closer ties with Beijing.
This is DW News, and these are our top stories. The conflict between Israel and Iran has entered a week with fresh exchange of hostilities. Israel says it launched fresh strikes on possible missile launch sites in western Iran on Friday evening. It came after an Iranian missile hit the Israeli port town of Haifa hours earlier, injuring 23 people. Europe's top diplomats say talks in Geneva with Iran over its nuclear program were constructive should be continued. Foreign ministers from Germany, France, the UK and the EU met their Iranian counterpart Abbas Araghchi, hoping to extract concessions to end the conflict with Israel. They say they made it clear Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has announced a multi-billion euro debt relief plan for Africa to start in Rome. The joint EU-Italy scheme aims to support industries in 14 including Ivory Coast and Senegal. Meloni said the initiative will convert hundreds of millions of euros in debt to development investment. This is DW News from Berlin. You'll find more on our website, dw.com.
Morning, the Home Secretary is planning to lead Stein Action Group, branding it a terror organisation.
Well, the move follows that security breach at RAF Bryce Norton, where 2 military aircraft were deliberately damaged.
To the right, 314. The nose to the left, 291. MPs back legalising assisted dying in a historic vote. It's one of the most controversial shifts in end-of-life care the country's ever seen. Now the bill heads to the House of Lords, but is it an act of compassion or a line we shouldn't cross?
Truly empower the local champions who understand their area, its identity, its strengths, and how to harness them.
Well, the Deputy Prime Minister there, Angela, plans to shift funding from wealthier councils in the south to more deprived areas in the north, sparking warnings of higher council tax bills for some. But should the south be funding the north?
It's the only festival where the main headliner is a heifer. The Royal Highland Show kicks off in Edinburgh with 4,000 animals, hundreds of exhibitors and 2 centuries of tradition.
Temperatures are set to soar to 34 degrees this weekend, with an amber health alert issued for parts of Britain. But for many, it's the perfect excuse to hit the beach and maybe even a local pub garden. Alex Burke will have more.
Heatwave continues today. In fact, for many, it's going to be even hotter than it was yesterday. But with that, we're going to see some heavy downpouring. Are you at risk? Find out with me later.
Good morning. The Lions fell to defeat against Argentina in their pre-tour farewell in Derby. Jack clash in cricket. Did England pay for their decision to bowl first in day one of the first test against India? On 7 o'clock, I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is DW News Breakfast.
Africa News. The news. Thousands of people in Yemen took to the streets of the country's capital to charity
with Iran and Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Protesters carried the Iranian and Palestinian flags and chanted against Israel and the US. Israel started the hostilities with unprovoked attacks on Iran's facilities and assassinations of nuclear scientists and top military figures on June 13th. It has since bombed oil facilities and a building housing the state broadcaster. At least 657 people, including 263 civilians, have been killed in Iran. Iran has responded by shooting missiles at Israeli cities, killing at least 24 people. Solidarity rallies were also held in Beirut of Lebanon. Protesters waved flags of Iran, Palestine and Hezbollah, a major Lebanese party and armed group allied with Iran. They also chanted slogans denouncing Israel and the US. About 8,000 people. The buffalo bicycle is her means of transport. The strong steel frame, the buffalo is not like regular bicycle. People underline. Barbara, a Kelo station has used the bicycle at least 6 times already. The first was for transport to America.
I was finished. The date I'm going to carry me because I'm not having a transport. Help me so that I can reach there very early, but I can come back when footing. But she always says, I will take you and then I will bring you back.
With Uganda battling inadequate facilities and a shortage of workers, it is carrying sensitization, immunization, and detecting disease outbreaks.
I know that illness conditions at community level in our country, and they are
bicycle isn't a right. It is promoted by bicycle relief and profits to reduce mobility challenges in poor and rural settings in Africa.
Thank you very much for giving time to Amir Shekel 5858. I am Amir Shekel. Have a good life. Bye-bye.